Hey everybody, it's Barbara Ann. Welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context. I am so glad, honored, humbled, and blessed to have you here with me today. And thank you for your watch, your like, your share, your subscribe, all of it. I'm going to get into this really quick because my video covering Candace Owens yesterday, she did a show on Friday, and I was going over some of that, some of her husband, some of how she converted to Catholicism. Some people are saying she's in this specific sect of Catholicism that I didn't know about. So I was just going over that. I also did a video going over some of her lawsuits because she learned in high school that she could just simply sue and, you know, win almost $38,000. And we've seen Candace be embroiled in a lot of lawsuits. So I had covered that before. And I've been talking about Candace Owens for over 2 months. Now I've been here on my own channel for over 4 years, but I've been talking about her behavior, actions, words, and choices in her content specifically, and how she goes about doing her content for 2 months since the Charlie Kirk assassination. And the reason why is because I did like Candace Owens. I did follow her, and I don't always agree with her, but I was one of those people that was just like, oh, cool, she talks about conspiracy theories and deep dives things. That's kind of like what I'm into, and I like to, it's fun. It's fun to talk about conspiracy theories. It's fun to talk about the possibility of this being connected to this, but what she's doing is at a completely different level because she's linking it to real people, and she's linking these conspiracy theories that are unfounded. That's why it's a conspiracy theory. It's not an actual theory that's plausible. You know, a lot of times there isn't evidence and proof to back up a conspiracy theory, and they're fun to dissect. They're fun to micro-analyze and get into the semantics of and look into. But when you're talking about a real person's assassination, of which Utah law enforcement already found the person who is responsible, and in the indictment he even admits 2 separate times that he did it. And no, he does not, as of right now, what we know for a verifiable fact based on the 10-page indictment, that local Utah law enforcement brought these charges against him. The feds only helped give them, because of Charlie Kirk being so known on the internet and kind of, his public figure status, in a way being a content creator, they gave them their supports and their resources. And of course, Kash Patel has been friends with Charlie Kirk since before he was the FBI director. He's been on Charlie Kirk's show. So it makes sense that they worked alongside, or that they gave the Utah law enforcement their supports and resources, and worked alongside them to help apprehend the person that was responsible. And they did that. Now, you don't have to be in a true crime to know that within the first 48 hours is critical, because you start losing not only key evidence and being able to collect that evidence that's fresh, but you also are running the risk of your eyewitnesses not being able to say or confuse certain dates and times. So the first 48 hours are really important for investigators because it's fresh from the time of that incident happening. That's why they like to talk to eyewitnesses as much as possible and get reports and collect evidence. And they did. They apprehended the person responsible. Now, Tyler James Robinson, I know a lot of people want to tie it to a conspiracy theory, but as of right now, he says in the indictment that he felt Charlie Kirk just spread too much hate. That's all we know. That is the only thing that we can verify for a fact, is that Tyler James Robinson says, as of right now, his reasoning. Now, he doesn't have a trial. He has due process rights. He's got the same, even if you're an assassin, even if you're a narcissist, even if you're a piece of shit, even if you're a liar, even if you're evil, if you're a U.S. citizen, you have same basic human rights. You have the same civil and constitutional rights. And unfortunately, as much as people don't like it and they want to believe Candace Owens is right about who really took out Charlie Kirk, it's not coincidental that she is trying to tie it to everybody, everything, every religion or race that she already has a bias and a dislike or a hatred for, trying to pin it against them. That's weird to me. That's really weird to me. Candace Owens has always been oppositional. When it wasn't cool to be a Republican, to be a conservative, to be very devout in your Christian belief, when Democrats and liberals and leftism is all over. It's like the mainstream, right? Candace Owens goes from being a Democrat, being a liberal, being a Protestant, to being the opposite of that. Now that it became, all these people came together with the Charlie Kirk assassination, his death, all of that, with Turning Point USA and all the backing and the big memorial, having the actual president of the United States speak at this memorial. Candace Owens is now, anti-Trump and has been speaking out about Trump. And that's funny because she's the person who was pushing people to vote for Trump the first and second time that he ran for the presidential election and won. And I think that that's funny because a lot of people are saying Candace Owens is paid to be oppositional. That's it. Whatever is mainstream, whatever is in the news, she is paid to specifically say the opposite of that. But that also goes back to being, symptoms of being a narcissist, of having a cluster B personality disorder. And I'm not an expert on that in any way, shape, or form, but I recognize a pattern of behavior. And with Candace, there's a pattern of behavior that definitely says that she just rebels against what she thinks is cool or mainstream or what she thinks everybody else believes in, because she wants everybody to believe that she's going against the grain, that she's doing the right thing, that she's anointed by God. All 8 billion people on planet Earth can say that bullshit. Doesn't make it true. But as far as Candace Owens, I still have told people, even if she's a narcissist, even if she's a, POS, even if she's a bitch, she's still a wife, she's still a mother to 4 young kids. And I've still urged people to pray for her, even if she's undeserving of it. Because people that are narcissists, people that are doing these off of the out of the deadly sins, greed for money, envy, jealousy, hatred and vengeance is something that Candace Owens clearly struggles with. And that could be tied to a cluster B personality disorder. It very well could be, because everything in her little mind revolves around her, and her. Herself, her money, her reputation, all of it. And everybody has started to pick up on this. Because it only, narcissism is only going to take you so far. Greed is only going to take you so far. Because when you have those intentions, you can't hide that no matter what words you spew. No matter what words you try to say, to deflect, to project, to gaslight, to manipulate, and to use that as a shield. No matter what words you say, people are going to eventually see the truth that you are using your once friend's name. Best friends? I don't believe so. Absolutely not. Friends, friendly, yes. And that was not on a personal level. That was on a work content creation level, because her and Charlie had worked together, especially when she had a show and he had a show. Of course, content creators work together all the time. That's how, they say your audience is my audience. That's how you share not only the same audience, but you can also bring in somebody else's audience by working with other content creators. And you see it all the time. You see people that have shows on YouTube, people that were fired by Fox, fired by CNN, they were fired by the Daily Wire, or they were fired by, other mainstream publishings or networks. And what do? They go independent by making their own website, by creating their own YouTube channel, and trying to just make the maximum amount of money that they can. But you always see those people on each other's show all the time. That's why I say it is a circle jerk. It is a human centipede. Everybody's mouth is literally attached to somebody else's ass. And it's just that constant circle, because these people aren't even politicians. They're not even real investigative journalists either. Like, they're just people who are doing the same thing I'm doing. They're just doing it on this level. And how do people get to that level? Well, you almost have to be a narcissist or a sociopath, a psychopath, to get to that level, because it's not just hard work. It's not just talent. It's not just being good looking. It's not any of those things. It's, are you narcissistic enough to claw your way to fame, notoriety, public figure status, and money, no matter what it takes? Because if that's the case, if it was based on hard work and talent, a lot of us smaller content creators would be the big content creators. But not everybody has it in them to do that to other people, to lie, to throw conspiracy theories out there that actually can hurt and send death threats to other people. Now, regarding that, with Candace Owens and why I've been talking about her actions, words, choices, and behaviors, I've still urged people to pray for her, because even narcissists, even prostitutes, even addicts, even me, even you, everybody You know, the people that are struggling, the people that have mental illnesses or personality disorders like her, even if they seem undeserving of it, they still need love and prayers and support the most. And sometimes the most undeserving of people really need prayer and love the most. And they might ask for it, or they might not ask for it at all. But if their actions, words, choices, and behaviors might imply that maybe they're asking for it in the most undeserving of ways, that they don't waste your time on him, he doesn't deserve it. But still, people that are devout, we are compelled to still pray for somebody, and to pray that, you know, maybe she can come to terms with the fact that she is, in fact, using Charlie's assassination for monetary gain for herself. And it has been a very big topic. None of her other investigations, even the Brigitte Macron series, which was not even 8 episodes, she has done over 43 plus episodes now about Charlie Kirk. That is a big chunk out of her not even 300 videos on YouTube. I have over 1,400 videos and shorts that I have made on YouTube. You can go look at a channel and you can see how many they have made. So when I say it's not hard work and talent that gets you that fame and attention, it's truly not. Candace Owens has literally, it's what they call fucking your way to the top, because you literally do anything to socially climb there. But only narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, you know, cluster B personality disorder types are the type that can do that. They literally harm people to get to the top, because just good, decent human beings can't do that. They can't motion through their life that way. They can't operate through their life that way. No matter what it takes, I am going to get to X, Y, and Z. No matter who I have to hurt, I am going to get to X, Y, and Z. And we see this kind of behavior in Candace Owens, and yet we see it in Taylor Swift. You know, really trying to use this toxic feminism and this all-American good girl next door, you know, type of I'm so innocent, fake victimhood and persona to garner as many fans as possible. Candace Owens has also done that, but she's used religion. She's actually used religion and tried to imply that she is anointed and appointed by God and has this calling for truth. But that's the thing with her perception of the truth. The truth is factually just the truth. What occurred, what happened, what didn't happen is not a part of the truth. Conspiracies or implications or implying isn't a part of the truth. What truly did happen is the truth, whether you want to accept it or not. Whether or not you want to believe it's a crazy conspiracy theories and that aliens came from outer space and mind controlled all of the Jewish people and all of Israel to be the demons on earth. You know, that doesn't mean that that's what happened. Charlie Kirk's assassin was apprehended, was charged, is sitting in prison awaiting his trial, and is, as of what we know right now, is going to be sentenced probably to the death penalty, because they are seeking it for what he did. And yes, it's going to come out, especially if he gets a plea deal to take the death penalty off the table and he has to confess and admit to everything that he did and enter that plea and accept that. That's always a possibility. That's always a possibility. But he already did. In the indictment, he already implied that he was the person that did it. You know, just the fact that people want to believe the conspiracy so badly that they're willing to side with Candace Owens and what she's doing is crazy to me, because her conspiracy saying, well, yeah, I definitely think that Tyler James Robinson is involved somehow, and yet you think this 22-year-old kid is just going to sit there during his arraignment and his, you know, court date and his upcoming trial. You think he's going to sit there and he's not going to have told his family or the press, like, hey, I'm being framed. Hey, it's not me. If that was any normal, logical person that was innocent, we would be screaming from the rooftops that, hey, I didn't do this. And yeah, people just don't want to accept the fact that out of 340 million American citizens, there's over 500 million actual armed weapons. Okay, I'm going to say it that way. And that's enough for every one of America's citizens, newborn, born today, to people that are dying today, to have not only one, but half of us to have a second one. That's how many armed weapons there are in the United States. And you don't think that it's plausible and possible that this 22-year-old kid did what he did? I'm saying absolutely. That's what we know right now. And there's nothing to suggest different. There is nothing in the indictment that suggests he took the life of Charlie Kirk because of politics or because of religion. What he said in the indictment that we know for a fact is that he spread too much hate. That's it. And that's coming from his perception. That's coming from what he thought Charlie Kirk did in his content on YouTube, on the internet, is that he spread too much hate. Yes, Charlie Kirk talked about religion, but he mostly talked about politics. He wasn't a politician, though. He was a content creator. He was the head of Turning Point USA, and of course he then tried to have this nonprofit behind him and really bring that into something tangible. See, that's the difference between him and Candace Owens, is he's the one person who really did try to bring Turning Point USA into actual reality, into chapters on college campuses and bringing new people into the conservative movement. But still, what he did, even with that, was still made content, recorded with cameras, content to put on YouTube, to put on his show. That was the entire basis of what Charlie Kirk did. And this kid, just like most people, have access to YouTube, right? They have access to YouTube, and what do? I've seen clips of Charlie Kirk. I didn't follow him, but I've seen clips of him all the time. You couldn't avoid it. It was like they dubbed him the internet's brother, because he's just there even when you don't like him or you don't want him to be, or if you do love him and you're a fan of his clips are always there all the time. That was Charlie Kirk with his content. He flooded the internet and social media with his content, specifically short clips. And of course he did college campuses and debates, but the whole basis of doing the college campus tours and the debates wasn't to educate with kindness. It wasn't to convert people. It was to record the content, to record the videos, to use for content. And that, nobody can dispute that, because that's a fact. The same way nobody can dispute the fact that Candace Owens is greatly making Charlie Kirk's assassination all about her. But you cannot, her motive is huge. Millions and millions of dollars that she is making. Okay? So she is greatly benefiting from the murder of Charlie Kirk. That is a fact. That is a fact. And the way that he passed, and with justice being sought against the perpetrator who did this. And more will come out during his trial and after. And people are going to look back, and how's Candace Owens going to explain all of these lies, all of these conspiracy theories that truly hurt real people? How is she going to explain that? Or how is she going to explain that she was trying to reach out to actual witnesses that are a part of the case? Because you can't obstruct justice. You can't do that. The whole thing with she's going to violate the gag order. The gag order has nothing to do with her. She was not there. She was not present. She has nothing to do with the case. And I think that's the thing that pisses her off, is that gag order being put in place prevents Lance Twiggs, the family of Lance Twiggs, the family of Tyler James Robinson, and other eyewitnesses that are going to be subpoenaed or have to testify under oath. Candace Owens was trying to get into contact with all of them, and then try to elicit information out of them. But that would be impeding justice. That would be obstruction of justice. That's walking a really thin line. And people were saying, why would you do that? If you ever cared about Charlie Kirk and was ever a friend to him, why would you try to literally stop or prevent or obstruct the justice of him having his perpetrator, the person that took his life, be sentenced and tried due to their due process rights? Candace Owens almost is so narcissistic that she takes being the judge, the jury, and the executioner onto herself. Why is this Egyptian plane being tied to that address where Candace Owens, her law firm that's representing her against the Macrones, isn't that? And what does she do? She immediately starts with these threats. Can I say that they're real or not? No, but I can say one thing. If they were real, Candace Owens wouldn't have tweeted about it. And I believe, in my own opinion, if they were real, Candace Owens would have done the right thing and gone to the FBI or even reported it to the French authorities, or at least some kind of European allied nation, to let them know. I think that this is really weird. So this is what she's said. Gosh, they are so bad at this. Somebody literally jokes, what if Candace Owens killed Charlie Kirk? Just asking questions. You know, the Egyptian military plane is linked to her attorney's office. So either Candace Owens was punked and will not admit that that source is not as solid as she thought, because she didn't vet them. She didn't verify, corroborate, cross verify, or corroborate, or check, or fact checked this solid source, or there really is something there, and Candace Owens really is maybe working with the FBI. Is she an undercover op that is purposely paid to put out bullshit on social media as controlled opposition, just to get a sense of where people are, or to keep that out there? I don't know. But she says, gosh, they are so bad at this. And it's funny, because that's literally the exact same thing she does in her content. And yet she wants to say, oh God, they're so bad at this. They're joking, first and foremost. That's a joke. That's satire, right? That's just proving that that's exactly what Candace Owens does. And what does she do? She always mocks it. She always tries to present it as, see, this is a joke. This is a smear campaign against me. Yet she's on a smear campaign against so many people, which is so weird, right? Okay, so she goes on to talk about communications from Trump, blah, 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 and how Marjorie Taylor Greene is a traitor because she's now, doesn't support Trump anymore and has apologized, whatever. So she shares this. Urgent. 2 days ago, I was contacted by a high-ranking employee of the French government. After determining this person's position and proximity to the French couple, I have deemed the information they gave me to be credible. How can she, first and foremost, determine this person's position and proximity to the French couple when Candace Owens is not even in France? She doesn't know how their government works. She doesn't know how the Elysee Palace works. She doesn't know how the French couple work day to day to be able to verify, vet, or cross-check that this person is telling the truth, that they are in a position of power and in close proximity to Emmanuel Macron, the French president, or his wife, Brigitte Macron. So that right there is dishonest, because they would have had to show some very solid proof, like actual undercover photos or videos of them with Emmanuel and Brigitte, for that to be, verified or corroborated. That's what I would assume. Because to have that kind of close proximity to the French couple, they would have to prove that they have that proximity. Of course. She says, I have deemed the information they gave me to be credible enough to share to the public, but not go to the FBI and file a report, not go to the French government or military, or even to some, embassy or European embassy, and actually report. I'm dumbfounded by this. Now, one person that had told me about this in my last video, of course, wanted to appeal to my heart and stuff. I have a heart for Candace Owens. I am not going to stand by her actions, words, choices, and behaviors. And it is not okay for her to sit here and try to shut down other people's content when she gets to do the same exact fucking thing and use somebody's life and death and their legacy, and still while creating breeding grounds for other people to receive very serious threats against their life, their livelihood. And yet Friday at 5:15 she still is able to publish her show. That's not right, because that is censorship and that is stifling free speech, and that's exactly what Charlie Kirk was against, and that's exactly what Candace Owens says she's against, because she doesn't want her right to free speech taken away. But see, free speech, defamation, libel, slander, lying, lies that amount to defamation, stalking, harassing, threats, verbally, those are not covered under free speech. And she walks that fine line of infringing on somebody else's rights and their right to free speech with her right to free speech. And that's just where I don't agree. And I believe that Candace Owens, if she really had this real proof, she would show it. Not just an email, hey, I'm going to give you this BS, here, verify and fact check me and deem that I'm credible. She would have had to have been showed real proof that this person, first and foremost, has close proximity to the French couple. And second, real proof that there was a hit ordered, because here in the United States, you can sit here and talk about like the Joe Exotic and the Carol Baskin thing. You can sit there and talk about and make jokes and satire and sarcasm all day long about somebody's life ending or them being gone in some kind of way. But the moment that money actually exchanges hands for said hit, that's when it becomes a crime. She would have to show that money actually was exchanged for this particular hit on herself, and show proof that this is actually linked to the French first couple. And this is typical of her, because she wants to deflect away from the fact that they are suing her. The French president and Brigitte Macron are suing Candace Owens, not vice versa. So it's no coincidence to me that she would put this on X and then not go to the FBI. Anybody can file a report with the FBI. And if Candace Owens truly has this threat, I highly suggest everybody should have sent it into the tip line or called the FBI and let them know. Because if she's not going to do it, you know, somebody needs to take that threat very seriously, because that also proves that Candace Owens isn't being genuine, that she's not being honest. Because ordering a hit on somebody's life is a crime. It is a crime. This would need, I mean, she just, this is her pattern though. This is her pattern. This is her narcissistic pattern. And this is also a way for her to play victim as well. I'm not saying that it's not true, but I'm just saying this is a pattern of behavior that we have seen every 2 days. She's not being talked about anymore. Her show goes from being the #1 podcast for a day down to #6 again. And then boom, this happens. It's the same cycle over and over and over for the last 2 months with Candace. And that's why I stopped being a fan and why I left the cult of Candace Owens. Because of this type of BS right here. But she continues on. In short, this person claims that the Macrons have executed upon and paid for her assassination. Yes, you read that correctly. More specifically, that the green light was given to a small team in the NGIG, the French, that's an intervention group. I am told that there is one Israeli that is on this assassination squad, and that the plans were formalized. Again, this person provided concrete proof that they are well placed within the French government apparatus. But what does that have? See, now this person can provide proof of that, but you need to take that proof that they gave you, that first of all, a hit was paid for and formulated, and that this was formalized and the green light was given. That proof for those two things should have been immediately taken to the FBI. Source or not, I don't give a fuck. That you're talking about somebody's life, right? And I'm telling you, if this was real, she wouldn't have done this. I think that she would have went to the FBI. There's no report at all that Candace Owens has gone to the FBI and reported it, or reported it even at a presidential level, because this is the woman who literally thought that Donald Trump should have just stopped everything and called her. Out of 340 million American citizens, he should have stopped everything and called her and been like, hey Candace, let's figure this thing out. You know that French president that's suing you for defamation, lies, slander, libel, and all the other bullshit that you've done? Yeah, just stop right there, Candace. Let's figure this out. I'm the president of the United States. I'm the leader of the free world. But you're just so important and so amazingly beautiful, Candace, that I'm going to stop my day and stop everything that's important running the country of America. And I'm going to call you and be like, yeah, let's figure this thing out for you, Candace. Let me help you to help you. Let me help you to help yourself. Let me help you to not be sued by the French president and his first lady. That's the person we're talking about. She couldn't even take it to President Trump and call Trump and be like, hey, Trump, hey, buddy, old pal, can you do me a favor? Can you take this really serious threat against my life and maybe have the FBI or the military look into this? Instead, it's on X. I think this is crazy. Now, true or not, I would call everybody. Of course, nobody deserves to have a threat against their life. I've received them, and I have nowhere near the following that Candace Owens has, and I don't have the money or the ability to have the level of security or any security. So imagine what small content creators go through on the daily that can't afford to have a security team 24/7, that can't afford a big security system even, or to have somebody posted outside of their house, or to protect their children. You know, Candace Owens has made millions, and her husband is allegedly worth over $250 million. She's got a net worth of over $6 million, plus the $6+ million she has been projected to make off of Charlie Kirk's back. So I think that this, of course, it goes without saying, nobody, even Candace Owens, being a liar, a narcissist, a grifter, whatever, even Candace Owens doesn't deserve to have a death threat. But I'm not the cause of the death threat. My content, I am 100% confident in that, is not the cause of a death threat against Candace Owens. In fact, if anything, it's her own content that is the cause of threats against her, because of the things she said and done in the Brigitte series, the Becoming Brigitte series, and the things she has done mocking them since. I'm assuming that's why they are suing her, right? But she has done everything to try to literally snake her way and human centipede her way around being sued. And if this is not real, the French president is going to have a lot of ammunition against her when they actually sue her, because this is going to be really bad if there's not conclusive proof she can show a judge that Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron actually signed off on this. It's actually going to be bad for her in court, because now she's taking that defamation, that slander, and that libel to a whole new level to try to get out of being sued for millions of dollars because of her own content. But of course, like I said, don't show hate to anybody, not even Candace Owens. And I stand by that. But it continues on. Again, this person provided concrete proof that they are well placed within the French government apparatus. Further to this point, this person claims that Charlie Kirk's assassin trained with the French Legion 13th Brigade with multi-state involvement. No, I don't think Tyler James Robinson did at all. He didn't. That's a lie, and that will be verified later. Mark my words. Journalist Xavier Poussard's life is also at risk. Well, yeah, he's the one who did the entire investigation. It wasn't Candace. It was Xavier Poussard. She usurped his 9+ years of very hard work, actually concluding that Brigitte Macron is Jean-Michel Trogneau. That's all I'm saying. And then it continues on. This is deadly serious. The head of the state of France apparently wants us both dead and has authorized professional units to carry this out. I ask that every person retweet and share this. I do not know who in the American government can be trusted, since this source claims our leaders are aware. Somebody sent her an email and she's dumb enough to believe it. Or does she actually have proof? Because like I said, that would warrant not going to the internet. That would warrant going to the FBI, going to the President of the United States. That would warrant going to, if not the French as well, and reporting it. That, hey, your dirty, corrupt president is trying to order a hit on some, African-American conservative podcaster. I just don't know how much I can believe this. of course, threats are always serious, but like I said, that would warrant going to the FBI. That's why I shared and tagged the FBI and the police, and also link this to a report, because something has to be done, and everybody has that ability to be able to report to the FBI, and they need to take it seriously. And if Candace Owens didn't do that, I at least have the assurance that somebody reported it to the FBI. So it goes on that that she's asking everybody to retweet and share this. Why? Because she wants to go #1 again. She wants everybody after Thanksgiving to come back and be viewing her show, because she's going to reveal it all then, but she never reveals anything. That's the whole fucking point. That is her pattern of behavior, is to keep you hooked, to keep you psychologically, emotionally manipulated, and to keep you coming back to view her content. That is the whole point. See, only narcissists can do that to other people, especially the good people that subscribe to you, or the good people that are members on your website, the good people that give you those views, because those are not just a number. Those are real people behind real accounts. Out of 340 million American citizens, you are lucky enough to have 5.5 million people worldwide want to tune into you. That's not even 0.00000000001% of the population that even follow her. But you still need to recognize that you are grateful and blessed to have that. No, she's entitled and feels like she deserves that, and that she'll do anything to keep that. In my opinion, that's the pattern of behavior I've seen, and we'll get into that in a second. But here she says that I do not know in the American government who can be trusted, since the source claims that our leaders are aware. Now that's a bold claim. That's a bold claim that American leaders are aware of this hit, and that they're just not doing anything, right? But I have more specific information, which is definitely verifiable. So what is that? That begs the question. If this other information specifically is definitively verifiable, the hit itself should have been definitively verifiable. The fact that she says there's other specific information, which is definitely verifiable, should they care to reach out to me? What? It's not the FBI or POTUS's job. This is so fucking... This is classic narcissism. That the FBI and the U.S. president should stop everything, and they should reach out to her. And they should reach out to her to solve the problem of her receiving threats, or being told via a tip line, hey, I'm credible, I work for the French first couple, and I'm really close proximity to the French couple. Like, just words are not enough to verify. You have to show receipts, pictures. You have to show receipts that money was exchanged or paid for this. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy the way she words things. It's manipulation. She is using manipulation tactics that the CIA used when they ran programs like MK Ultra on social media audiences. And if you believe it, I'm sorry to tell you, you need to wake up. Because when she talks about the psychological manipulation, it is to deflect away from the fact that she is psychologically manipulating. And when she talks about the Matrix and all of that, she is making you believe that she's the face of truth, that she's the only one that can deliver it. Yet she is a part of the Matrix. She is the mainstream media today. She's got more followers than even a lot of websites like the New York Post or Page 6 get on their Instagram or their TikTok or even their daily website. Not even 1 million or 3 million followers. Candace Owens has over 7.5 million on X and over 5.5 million on YouTube. And that's not even telling about her new website in the last year, how many people she has subscribed to her there. Candace Owens is mainstream media today, because social media is the new mainstream media, and it has been slowly converging in the past 20 years. But she continues on here that she has more specific information, which is definitely verifiable. Should the president and the FBI care to reach out to her, this is your job to reach out to them and to report it. To the brave official in France who did this because they were so moved by the evil of Charlie's public execution to risk their own life, may God bless you truly. Let all be revealed. Wait, what? she should be revealing it, since she says she vetted this information, that she knows that this is true, that the plans were formalized and money was exchanged, and that this is definitely the French first couple. And then at the end, she says they were so moved by the evil of Charlie's public execution that they would risk their own life to tell her this information. Yeah, I don't know. I don't wish this on anybody, of course, but I'm not a sheep and I'm not stupid. Like this person says, if this is verified, it's not. That's the problem. Because if this was real, the first thing she should have done was gone to the FBI. Gone to President Trump and actually called him, hey, buddy, old pal, I have a problem. You know, that French president, yeah, I think he's trying to take me out. Or she's making this up and believing somebody who's spoofing her, or somebody that is punking her and saying this bullshit, and it's just not true. But then she goes on to retweet some other people's stuff, especially Xavier Poussard. She says there will be no official response from the Elyssee's Palace because what I have shared is true. And I have evidence to support my claim, to support her claim. If it's true, it's not a claim. If it's true, it is not a claim. What do you mean I have evidence to support my claim? What is true is true. It's not a claim. If somebody ordered a hit, that is just the truth. That is just what it is. The fact that she has to say what I shared is true and I have evidence to support my claim, I even have names, they are likely trying to figure out where the leak came from. We are talking about the murder of citizens for speech. If they wanted to take her out, it wouldn't be because of speech. But I don't see how that's even possible because they are suing her. They're going through the legal route and they have the money to do it. They have the money and the allies and everything to be able to sue Candace Owens rightfully for defamation and all these things. It makes no sense why in the middle of this big lawsuit where they potentially she could have to pay them millions for the rest of her life, work off that debt. And they're going to do something as dumb while the worldwide media, not just the media in France or the UK or the US, the worldwide media. I mean, they were covering this in China and Saudi Arabia in multiple languages, this lawsuit. Why would they do something so dumb as to try to order a hit right in the middle of that, knowing that they potentially are going to win this lawsuit? It seems more probable that maybe Candace Owens is not quite telling the truth about everything here and that she's doing this to deflect away from the fact that she's probably going to have to, pay them money or be found out to be the liar that she is. Because she definitely tried to get that lawsuit dismissed after telling Tucker Carlson that she does not want it dismissed because she wants to go to discovery and she wants to be proven right. Now remember, she literally staked her entire professional reputation and career on that. The day that she is proven to be a liar, a psychological manipulator, and the narcissist that she is, I'm telling you, if every single one of those people don't go and unfollow, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy because you're following another Amber Heard, another Belle Gibson. It's even worse because somebody is acting like they're holier than thou, that they're better than thou, that they are more intellectual and knowledgeable than anybody else. So she goes on to say that I am told the payments for the assassinations are running through the Club des Cent in France, which means Club 100 in France. This means that there is a paper trail, and I encourage the patriots of France to do what you can to uncover it. But I thought she had the proof and the evidence. This is proving she doesn't have proof and evidence. I would, again, like to stress that there was a French female assassin, but also a male Israeli assassin that were selected to kill me. These are joint state operations. Why would they even care about Candace Owens, really, honestly? It's not that big of a deal. It is not a coincidence that the French legionnaires were in the United States training with our Marines for 3 weeks. No, because France has always been an ally for a very long time. When those 3 weeks ended in California, another military training exercise began alongside civilians at Camp Riley in Minnesota. French foreign legionnaires were involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. They were not the only ones, but they were involved. Yeah, what is the French Foreign Legionnaires and the 2nd Foreign Infantry Regiment training together at the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center in California as a part of the service level training exercise? It ran from August 4th to August 25th. Focused on improving interpersonality between the two allied forces through realistic scenarios like close quarters combat and urban terrain training. That doesn't link it to Charlie Kirk at all. Like, training is something that's pretty typical with the 6 different divisions of armed forces that we have. That's typical. That's not linked to Charlie Kirk, nor is it linked to a supposed hit on her either. I wonder what Emmanuel Macron and Brigitte Macron have to say about this. Has anybody contacted them? Because, I'm curious if I should reach out and ask them if they have made a statement or anything on this, because you can actually directly contact the president of France. But I think this is really weird. And this is what I'm talking about. Okay. So far, Candace Owens has been caught lying about Charlie's letter to Netanyahu. Netanyahu offering $150 million. The Hamptons event. The 2 UVU students she falsely accused. The Egyptian plane story that is actually linked directly to her own attorney. Right here. Candace Owens was caught in another lie. She told CNN she refused to talk about Charlie Kirk, but CNN dropped the receipts proving that she agreed to discuss Charlie Kirk right here in the email exchange talking about the September 26th Candace Owens CNN interview. So Charlie Kirk was assassinated on September 10th. That September 26th, that's 16 days later. That's barely 2 weeks, and she's already in mainstream media doing interviews, and she said she didn't talk to the press. Right here, Milk Bar TV, proof Candace Owens just lied to her audience. Here she is acknowledging that he clipped her book club. Then a month later, I become an undercover operative and a Christian Zionist, and tries to tie it together to her Egyptian planes and being a victim of conspiracy to attack her. She is well aware of her lies, and she knows her audience is dumb enough to believe and swallow them. That's exactly what she's doing. She's playing on your fear, your paranoia. She's playing on your stupidity. She's playing on your ignorance. She is playing on the fact that you're not smart enough to realize and see what she's really doing. That is what she is doing. That is fundamentally the truth of what Candace Owens is doing. It doesn't matter how many views she gets, as long as she gets enough views to keep herself and her money flowing for herself and her family. That's what the elite do. That's what millionaires like her and her husband do. They want to maintain and keep that status. They want to maintain and keep their money. And they want to make more of it. It's just, like I said, it's an insatiable beast that can never stop being fed. And that's why narcissism and evil and lies, you're going to see it eventually, because they will go down the road where they just can't stop. It's just wanting more and more and more and more. And then, of course, their behavior, actions, words, choices become so egregious that people are going to see it. And Candace Owens has been way past the point of people are seeing it every episode, the lies and the bullshit. Does it warrant her getting death threats that are legitimate? No, absolutely not. But again, that would mean the appropriate steps, not going to X and then saying that she has definitively verified this information and then not show that information. If you have proof of that information, you should be sharing it everywhere. So everybody on the internet knows that you are not lying, that this is true, this is real. But it's like, no, come back after Thanksgiving when I run my show again, or whatever she comes back. But here she does. She acknowledges that she gives Milk Bar TV a copyright strike for taking that clip of the book club. And hey, if he is paying that $20 subscription to be a part of or the $10 subscription plus the $18.99 it is for her website. So if you have both, it's almost $30 a month to be a Candace Owens fan, because that's her book club is $10 plus her regular subscription is $18.99. So if he's paying that, and he's paying to be a part of that, any live that she does interacting with her book club, then hey, He had every right to clip that and let people see that Candace Owens behind the scenes really is telling people that she blames Trump. She blames the Trump administration, that she blames Israel working with Trump and the Trump administration for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And she's mad because she doesn't want people to see that. That's why she gave him a copyright strike. Yet in this newer episode, she's here saying, when she's trying to tie it to the Egyptian plains, that undercover operatives, Christian Zionists that are paid to smear her, did this. Milk Bar TV was not paid to smear Candace Owens. I was not paid to talk about Candace Owens 2 months ago. I started talking about it because I stopped being her fan, and I talked about my experience being somebody who watched her, not every day, but I've watched her for years. And I even joined the Daily Wire to watch her entire thing about making a murderer with Stephen Avery. And I even watched her whole documentary about not just the shot in the dark, but her whole thing about not even the COVID-19 stuff. It was about the Black Lives Matter movement and all of that. And it turns out even some of that's not even true. But then we look. So this person here even says, I've been trying to warn people about Candace Owens for months. So have I. But their pride and ego will not allow them to recognize they're wrong about her. Candace is nothing more than an orchestrator of low IQ wine mom drama slop. We were called to dig and research, and when you do on Candace's claims, this is how it turns out. And yes, her white husband from Britain basically purchased her and married her after only 2 weeks of knowing her. Why? So he could get a green card and then citizenship? I don't know. It's so obvious. And when her charade comes crashing down and she's sued into oblivion, nobody from the woke fam will be surprised. Why? I don't know. Maybe her husband wanted to be in America or another country where he can get tax breaks, or maybe he has better chances with the stock market, with investments, with hedge funds, offshore accounts. I don't know. It's a plausible and real question because he's a multimillionaire. For what reason? He studied theology. I mean, it begs a lot of questions. This person says that they are sincerely scared for Candace and they don't even like her. I don't like her either. And of course, I would highly suggest that she not do that she shows the proof, that she puts the proof everywhere, so that way they can't refute that she is lying. But she's not doing that. This is a part of her, and she's just ramping it up. Now it's these threats against her. But this is what's really important here, okay? Candace Owens doesn't care about the death threats that she has created a breeding ground for. Like radicalizing people like Tyler James Robinson, the person that killed Charlie Kirk. Because he probably watched content like Candace, if not Candace herself. And then thought he spread too much hate and went out and did what he did. According to his own indictment, that's his reasoning that we know of as of right now, is that Charlie Kirk spread too much hate according to his own words. So that's the only thing that is verifiable as of right now. People Charlie Kirk loved and personally picked to work with Turning Point USA. The man dismissed, and Candace Owens should have reported it to the FBI Director Kash Patel, and the President of the United States immediately. And of course, I tagged them. And this is Laura Loomer, who goes at it with Candace all the time, because she even outed Candace as somebody who was trying to use the conservative movement to try to get more views, more followers to her shows, talking about politics, yada yada yada. And she's not a politician though. And this, she says, Frank Turek, a friend of Charlie Kirk, who was with Charlie when he was assassinated, said he now has to have security because he's getting death threats as a result of Candace Owens' conspiracy theories about Charlie's death. He said that he and Michael McCoy have been getting tons of death threats because Candace Owens keeps suggesting and implying and implicating that they played a role in Charlie Kirk's assassination. Turek said there is no conspiracy, and he is asking people to stop spreading those lies before someone else gets injured or killed. Terrible. And what does she do? She turns around and magically she gets this hit put on her. I really hope that it's not true. But I wouldn't put it past Candace Owens to do something so egregious, because she's done worse. She's done worse than lying about a hit on herself. She's lied about the actual assassination of a friend of hers. Were they best friends? I don't believe they were best friends. But she also posts payments for my assassin ran through Club Descent. This is what I've been told. But earlier today, Candace Owens, her Twitter account, I'm telling you, it's being spammed. She posted the same one, not only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. 17 times she posted the same thing. I am told that payments for assassinations are running through the Club Descent. She says, I am told that the payments for assassinations are running through the Club Descent in France. She doesn't say that her assassination was paid for through Club Descent in France. You have to be very careful on how she words things. Only manipulators word things like the way she does. It's not intelligence. She's doing it on purpose so she doesn't have to commit defamation. But see, nobody, even Candace Owens, even if this is true, nobody deserves to have actual death threats. And if it was real, if this is true, then it begs the question, why didn't she do an emergency live show on air? Why didn't she do a quick short? Why didn't she do something to show everybody the proof? Because in case of something does actually happen to her, so she doesn't have that fear. She doesn't have that fear of putting a safety plan in place or implementing the safety plan or even putting the stuff out publicly in case something does happen. Did she contact her lawyers and give the proof to her lawyers so her lawyers know that the same people that are suing her supposedly did this? Right. See, that's what I'm saying. Her reaction to what she said happened isn't the reaction that she should take if it was real. That's what I'm saying. It's just typical for her and her behavior. Even Xavier Poussard shared the same thing. And it says here, he's a journalist of investigation of France and in Italy. He's the author of Becoming Brigitte. Because he is the author of Becoming Brigitte. He is the investigator. Candace Owens just usurped it and fucking put her name at the top. Candace Owens presents an investigation by Xavier Poussard. That should tell you everything that you need to know about her, because she's literally taking the investigation from real investigative journalists and trying to take it for herself. So look at some of these tweets. Just say, I fell down to number 6 from #1 podcast in the world and will say and do anything to get back to #1, no matter who I have to hurt. Candace Owens' assertions that later proved to be true or highly likely. The Jussie Smollett hoax. This person is saying that Candace Owens is right about Jussie Smollett hoax. No, the police were right about this Jussie Smollett hoax. That was a whole trial. All the information was pulled directly from the trial. But she doesn't trust law enforcement, and they're corrupt, and they're lying. And you see what I'm saying? With certain cases, it's okay for her to take their investigation and their evidence and everything and run it like it's truth and fact. But if she really didn't trust law enforcement or the feds or the CIA, why is she usurping and piggyback riding off of their hard work and their investigation? Right, because she's not an investigator. She's not even boots on the ground doing field work to even verify or corroborate a lot of this stuff. So she has people believe that she actually was right about Black Lives Matter, big tech, COVID lockdowns, Epstein. What? See, this is how mind warped she has people. That she was right about Kamala Harris, Barack Obama, Brigitte Macron. That she was right about MK Ultra experiments. Yeah, that's real. A whole book has been done about it. Lots of books have been done about MK Ultra and the psychological experiments that they were running. You guys never watched Wormwood? Like, what? Sigmund Freud's sexual immorality, and that she was right about Israel's influence and control over U.S., Europe policies. She literally has people brainwashed. But for the very, 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 very small percentage of people that she has brainwashed, there's a whole 99.999999999% of people that see what she's really doing. And of course, there was some other things, like somebody had tagged Grok. We're begging you, please periodically diagnose Candace Owens with whatever mental illness you think she actually has based on her tweet history. You can clearly say that you're not saying she has it, just that you're picking up on something, the probability that she has some kind of mental illness. Somebody else says, you actually just claimed a run-of-the-mill French infantry unit and a French police hostage rescue group are going to take you out. If you bother to do any research at all on your barking fantasy, there's only one group that has this task, and it is DGSE's Division Action. Candace, you are a lunatic. People are questioning the validity of this so-called threat against her life. Like, why aren't you holding a press conference immediately, or something that would draw more attention to this? Like contacting the FBI or the president. Good thing some people have already done that on your behalf, Candace. If you're being threatened by these people, it warrants a lot more noise than a tweet and a please reshare. I would think that the Israeli government would want you gone, not Charlie Kirk, for speaking out against their evil. Candace, are you sure about the Macron hiring someone to kill you because you don't have enough proof? They can sue you for this as well. Are you trying to get out of a lawsuit? Candace wants everyone to believe that the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, and his wife Brigitte Macron has unleashed an elite counter-terror police unit to assassinate a podcaster on YouTube. That's laughable. Macron isn't sending GIGN hostage rescue commandos to neutralize Candace Owens and some blogger. That's what happens when someone mistakes their own social media drama for international espionage. This is what somebody does and says when they mistake their own ego and importance and place socially and in the world with born elites, people in the Illuminati, people that run the banking syndicates of the world, like the Rothschild family. Candace Owens thinks the president of the United States should stop everything and just call her and be like, hey, let's figure this out. That tells you how narcissistic she is. Because I would never assume that the president of the United States should just stop what he's doing and call me up and figure out a lawsuit against me for me. Because that's not important enough. That's nowhere near important enough. Candace Owens is narcissistic enough to believe that she's that important. But she aesthetically, intellectually has no reason to be that egotistical. No reason. Not the brightest, smartest, most talented, not the most aesthetically pleasing to be that egotistical. And that is going to be her own downfall. It's not an orchestrated smear campaign. It is the fact that people are seeing the truth about Candace Owens. And this is how far she will go to not only get the most views, but to make money. And it's weird. It's not only weird, but it's just, how can anybody motion and operate through life like that? Because that's the kind of precedence and example she's setting for her family, for her husband, as a wife, as a mother as well, for her kids. So this also continues on, and her corroboration, verifying, fact-checking anything, Xavier Poussard, the same guy who lost in court after pushing the claim that Brigitte Macron was a born man. A truly rock-solid source. Eye roll. There's zero evidence, no documents, no recordings, no verifiable names, just a high-ranking official told me. Even outlets that normally bend over backwards to defend her can't confirm any part of this story. And the timing couldn't be more convenient, Candace. She's being sued by the Macrons for defamation for millions of dollars, and she's the target of a global assassination plot. What are the odds? Bravery in your wet dreams, Candace. Eye roll, laugh emoji. It is self-inflation so extreme, it needs its own no-fly zone, packaged as emergency broadcast. Yeah, I have evidence to support my claim. Provides no evidence. Candace presents the unfalsifiable. If the government responds, she cites the response as evidence due to it being true enough to warrant a response. If they don't respond, she cites it as evidence that they're hiding something. So true. Candace, if you keep up, this is your future, someone said. To everyone saying, why would the Macrons want Candace Owens dead if they are suing her? What would they need to prove if the person they are suing is dead? What? They're likely going to win that lawsuit according to so many people, right? But this woman needs to get professional help. Completely insane. Talking about Candace Owens doing what she did. Candace Owens is a pathological liar and a narcissist who is making a fortune grifting off of millions of you. Here is her example. Her grift is this simple. Make wild and dramatic accusations. I've talked about this in my videos. Go back and watch them all. In the last 2 months, you will see exactly. I broke the code over how she psychologically manipulates you, and I break it down in detail so you can understand what she does. Make wild and dramatic accusations. Say proof is coming in the next episode to keep you hooked to come back and view the next episode. Make a new accusation without ever showing any proof. Say proof is coming in the next episode. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. She has been doing the same thing over and over again, and no matter how many of times she pulls the rug from under you idiots, you still listen to what she has to say. And many in the influencer class amplify her stupidity as if it's gospel. The madness has to stop. We cannot allow Candace Owens and people like her of the world to continue to lead the people astray. We have to loudly reject the insanity, and we must promote the influencers who provide a better example for the people. Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. Pray for Candace Owens. For sure. But like I said before, I'm done consuming her content. I don't want anything to do with Candace Owens anymore. I actually had her blocked, and that's exactly what I am going back to do, is to block her again, because I don't want anything to do with her content. We know how evil likes to infiltrate people like her and use them to be their own mouthpiece, to use their fame, their public figure status, and their notoriety to push out lies, conspiracy theories, and bullshit. Yeah, there's always going to be conspiracy theories, but the assassination of Charlie Kirk is not one of them. Unfortunately, Charlie Kirk made himself a little too available to the public. And he put himself in situations where he was at risk. He had people that did not agree with him, people that are Democratic and liberal coming to debate him, more than there were just people there to support him. So remember, he put himself in the circumstance and helped create the circumstance that was the breeding grounds of which radicalized a young man to take the action that he did to end his life. And it only took one weapon, one ammunition, one pull of the trigger, and that was it. That's all it took. And unfortunately, people want to make it into a conspiracy theory, but there wouldn't have been a need for all these other people there. And let me ask you this. In order to orchestrate an entire assassination like that, and to have all these people in maroon shirts and all of these people working together, Turning Point USA are in on it, everybody in the air is in on it, all the drones are in on it, the Egyptian plane flying overhead are in on it, the military people training in California are in on it, all of the Jewish people in Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu and the Zionists, they're all in on it. Everybody is in on it. Everybody betrayed Charlie, even Candace Owens too, betrayed Charlie Kirk. Right? Everybody's in on it. Yet she's going to solve the murder of her friend Charlie Kirk, and she's not going to stop until she does that. Yet they apprehended the one person who actually did it. And there's no way all of these people conspired, and not a single one of them has ratted anybody else out or have come forward. Right, because it's unfounded. It's not likely, and it's not plausible. That's the whole thing. And think of it this way. If Israel, if the IDF, if Egypt, if the Egyptian military, the U.S. military, if the federal agents, the CIA, the President of the United States, the President of France wanted to take out somebody like Charlie Kirk, do you really think they would have done it in a public event in front of everybody? Do you think they would have been dumb enough, like an actual professional, an actual sniper? Do you think that they would have gotten 160 yards away? They could get much, much further than that. And do you really think they would do it where they're going to be caught on video, cell phones, and CCTV footage? No, they would have done recon. They would have done all of this beforehand to black those cameras out, to destroy them, to stop them, so that way there was none of that. But really, a professional would have done it in a way of which it would have been drive up, boom, drive off, done. Unmarked, completely blacked out clothes or a helmet like on a motorcycle or something like that. They'd pull right up to an SUV or a vehicle where somebody is being carried, look over, boom, take off, and that's it. They wouldn't do it in front of witnesses. It makes no logical sense to do it in front of so many witnesses. It makes no logical sense to have everybody's in on it except for Charlie. That makes no logical sense. It would only take one person, one weapon, one ammunition, one time. And if a professional did it, you wouldn't hear anything except for Charlie Kirk suddenly died because somebody came up to him while he was riding in a vehicle and shot through a vehicle, and boom, he's gone. Like, that seems more logical. No witnesses, no plates on any vehicle. You couldn't even see a face if somebody's wearing all black and has a helmet on or something like that. You wouldn't even have seen the weapon or have CCTV footage or drone footage or any other cars. It just makes no sense if it's a professional assassination. Why was it so fucking sloppy? And why did they do it in front of so many people? Right, because it was a 22-year-old kid. That's just a fact. That is just a fact. But as far as her death threats, yeah, I say please pray for Candace. Please pray that she gets the help that she needs, the psychological help. And if anybody else is compelled, go file a report yourself with the FBI, because Candace Owens, either which way, she's got a lot of explaining to do. I'm not going to be watching her content. I'm not going to give into this. I'm not going to be a part of this. I want nothing to do with this shit. And I certainly am not going to feed her ego. And I'm certainly not going to give her any more views, clicks, none of that shit. Those days are over and done for me. I left the cult of Candace Owens, and that's it. If she's getting actual death threats from the President of France, or she is actually having an assassination hit ordered on her, she needs to do the appropriate thing. And if she doesn't, that tells you she's lying and she's psychologically manipulating you. That's it. Pay attention to actions, words, choices, and behaviors. I pray for you all. I even have prayed for that nut job time and time again. I urge everybody to pray for her, but I'm done. I'm not going to conform, sell out, or give in to this kind of evil. I have every right to make my content as well as anybody else, including her. In fact, she says 2 days ago this happened. This would have been Thursday when she posted this yesterday, and yet she still continued to show Thursday and Friday and failed to mention it. Think about that. Think about that. She is manipulating you all. And she doesn't care as long as she is making money. That's what it's all about. That is what it's always all about. And she's even shown snippets of who Charlie Kirk really was behind the scenes, making jokes at other people's expenses. More worried about money than anything else. Even Charlie Kirk was money hungry and was driven by money. So much so that when he had a donor threaten to pull $2 million a year away from him, his first reaction was to bring back Candace Owens, just to piss them off. That tells you where they really stood and what he really thought about Candace Owens. And the fact that he would threaten to bring her back means that there was something that pulled them apart, that he stepped away from, and that there's a reason why he did that. So she doesn't even realize that she's actually kind of exposing Charlie Kirk a little bit there too, that he's not quite the guy you've seen on camera. And Charlie Kirk, like him or hate him, he was very egotistical too. So you wonder why people get to that level. It's because they're fucking narcissists and they're egoists, psychological egoists. They think they're better than everybody else. They're smarter than everybody else, that they know everything. That their opinion of what's good for humanity, what's good for politics, what's good for the state of diplomacy or lobbying, that they are the end-all be-all of what's right. Because they think they're so smart that their opinion is only the right opinion. And that their thoughts and feelings are truth and holy, and everybody else is evil and a demon. And that they're the only person that could have the right answer when it comes to things like politics, assassinations, the military, conspiracy theories. And I'm telling you right here, for a fact, Candace Owens is not the end-all be-all of truth. In fact, she's very, very, very far away from it. She's not the end-all be-all of politics, religion, setting a good example, the conservative movement, Republicans, or anything else for that matter. She's just a YouTuber who is using propaganda and sensationalism, her own bias, hatred, and anger, fueling that to get attention, to get the views, to keep you coming back, to keep the cycle going. How do you break the cycle? Stop engaging with it. And as soon as you stop engaging with it and she plummets from number 1 all the way down to number 6 podcast, all of a sudden she does something sensational again. More propaganda ramps up. I'm not giving into it and I'm not buying it because I have every right to talk about it and discuss it. She put it on the internet. In fact, she says that 2 days ago this happened. This would have been Thursday. She ran an entire show and didn't warn anybody that this was happening to her. She did the same thing on Friday. Everybody else has the right to make their content into free speech. In no way, shape, and form, I'm not involved. My content's not responsible. I don't have to stop. I don't have to stop talking about her actions, words, choices, and behaviors when I cover it because I'm not the one responsible. In fact, I urge you all to not only stop engaging, and if you do, that's fine, but you guys need to be demanding that she shows proof and that she answers questions, because she never will and she won't. That's just how she's always been since the very moment she started making content. So think about that. But I love you all. I hope you all have a great day. I hope you have a great end to your weekend. And if I don't see you or you don't watch my content, happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys have a great week. I love you all. Pray for you all. Even pray for Candace Owens, even though she's one flew over the cuckoo's nest. And I will see you all on the next one.